Hello, my name is Alex Dykstra, and I'm doing this in conjunction with Alec Francis Cangeli. We are creating an application which we are calling MOOC Time, and this application is seeking to solve a couple different problems. Um, the motivation behind the work really lies in the fact that college is stressful, and especially for first-year students. We see, and we've all experienced, that each student deals with choices as to how to spend their time in their first year, and really this is kind of setting the base of how they will use and dedicate their time to certain things. So we looked into quite a few differences as far as demographics go between gender and age, specifically for how time management is actually utilized. And the main idea behind that is there's some focus on a underlying correlation between everyone and how they use their time. And the fact is that people use time, so that's kind of what unites people. Um, and we wanted to focus mostly on online courses because we have seen, and research has shown that people are not returning to online courses sometimes based off of their past experiences. We see a lot of disconnect from online courses because when you're in a course, teachers and professors, they speak directly to you. Hey, this project's coming up. You should be working on it. And however elementary that sounds, I've experienced that in my undergraduate. And I mean, even online, in good online courses, I experienced that as well, of very good reminders. But the thing is with online courses is the fact that we have to deal with communication being really, um, I guess, both people need to make it a priority to actually communicate. So that's kind of the problem we're trying to solve with MOOC Time. Um, and I'm going to walk through a couple things. People in the past, there's really two routes. In my experience as an undergraduate student at my university, we were required to take an introduction to college, and that course included the majority of this is how college is different from high school, here's what you'll be experiencing, and a big portion of that was time management. And there really wasn't any theory behind it. There was just, this is how you manage your time, make sure you're not going out, hanging out with friends too much, remember that you're in college to get out of college, sort of thing. And then there's other things like Trello, which is basically just a board where you can track tasks. Other routes are like Apple Reminders, and then also Google just came out with an actual tasks application, but you have the integration with Reminders in Google. And finally, what those applications lack in doing is actually teaching someone time management, kind of directly saying, this is where you're spending your time. So that's another thing that MOOC Time wanted to solve, was kind of uniting those two areas. And what we plan to do in this area, and as I think most people have seen in their own projects, very, very excited to be able to have something as open-ended as this course. But what we mostly wanted to do was have a setup workflow where a user can enter their information, and I'm going to go ahead and walk through that. So I'm just hosting everything locally, and super basic UI, but we're going to get started, and the user is going to start entering their information, and as they go, we'll call it 6460, I think is the number, and nothing exact in here, but we'll throw in a few dates. That sounds about right. And then it ends, I'd say, next Friday. And what this calendar feed is coming from is actually Canvas. So unfortunately I have to sign in. And once you do that, you can go to your calendar and you can actually get this calendar feed. And this is the link that I'm expecting them to copy in. So once they copy that in, you can go ahead and hit next. And what it's going to do is actually, Mook Time is going to go in and parse that calendar. It's going to go look at what assignments are due during this course. It's going to give you the due dates, and you're going to have the option to actually add things to your work. So let's just add the remaining items, which is final project, and it's going to ask for some information. We'll call it an assignment. And what Mook Time also does is it pulls in information from the included information for the assignment, which is pretty cool. And this is not needing to be integrated with Canvas. We are doing this all from the actual calendar file that we get from Canvas. So we can see that that final project is added, and you can see that link is going to Georgia Tech infrastructure and is actually going to link you back into Canvas. So that's pretty nice to have that in there as well. And then we'll add the project paper. And that is an assignment as well. And we can see that we can get more information there. And once we've added those two assignments, we can say we're done adding work. Okay, so now here is really where the time management key comes in. We've got the ability to do this thing called scheduling sessions. So now that the user has added their work items that they care about, so homework, quizzes, tests, they can go in and schedule sessions for when and what they want to study exactly. So we just said that both these tasks were 2 hour, or they're actually small, which just means that we're going to say that they take 2 hours, and this is just an example. And that idea really comes from the usage of user stories in an agile software development environment, as opposed to saying, how long do you think this is going to take you? Instead saying small, medium, large, or huge, and kind of get to break it down a bit more. And that's really where we want Mook Time to improve, is in that area of saying, hey, if this thing's that big, then you need to be scheduling more sessions. So you can go in and schedule sessions, multiple at a time. So let's go add one, I guess tomorrow, and then we'll do 1:30. We'll schedule that session, and we see this increments. And then let's also add one for 5:30 for another hour. Once we've done that, we can go into the next one, and let's do this on Sunday at 2:30 for 2 hours. We'll schedule that session, and we've got our 2 hours covered. So the next thing is we are going to export that calendar, and that is actually Mook Time doing the work for us. In the back end, we are just processing those tasks that they've added in there. So we're going to go in here, and the main purpose in keeping this not just being a calendar application was that most people are using their stock calendar on either their iPhone or Android device, or most people are just using their Google Calendar and utilizing that on their iPhone or Android device. And that's actually what I do, and I think that's what most people do too as well. So we are going to go and import this file, and it's pretty simple. Almost every application that uses calendars has this ability to do it as well. You can do this in Apple calendars or Google, which I think are the main two, and that's really what we wanted to cater to, is that flexibility. So we're going to go ahead and import it, and we can see that it imported 3 events out of 3. And now if we go look, we see that those interval sessions happen to get in there. So now that we did that, what's going to happen is users are going to approach those times, and that's when they're actually going to be able to complete those sessions, and have it in the back of their mind to go in, look at their syllabus, and actually see what does actually do. And that's the whole point of that that process of setting it up. So the solution worked, and there's a ton of more space to do more in this, and that really comes down to kind of watching how a user is using their time. And that's where we get into, we added an extension in here that is going to be monitoring the time spent on certain websites, and this is only while it's active. So we can see my average time for spending somewhere. You can see a lot of my time excuse me, is spent on Google Docs because that's what I've been doing in the past hour or so. But you can see that new things are going throughout there. And one integration that we want to add in eventually is tying this straight into the calendar and possibly actually pulling down the events that they have scheduled and ensuring that people are spending their time. And one reason we did not go down that route just yet was because the majority of people are going to be working in a web application environment, but more than likely they will not be just working on web applications. They could be using Microsoft Word, but that is just one kind of disconnect that we had, a shortfall that we didn't really decide to overcome just yet. So that is MOOC time in its whole. I know there's a lot more we could do with it, and we're excited for what else could become of it. But thanks for listening, and appreciate everybody's time. Thanks.